Hey guys, welcome back. Time to talk about the spice. Wore it yesterday. Uh, let's first off start by saying I love Old Spice unapologetically, and not even just nostalgia, though that I do love it for that reason, but I also love the smell of it. So I understand it's not for everybody, but it should be. But anyway, let's get into it. I'm going to give this the full treatment too. I'm going to give you the accords, most of the notes, not all, I'll be here forever. But yeah, so Old Spice, warm, spicy, floral, fresh, spicy, vanilla, cinnamon, powdery, amber, citrus, aromatic, anise. Those are the accords. Classification, Oriental Spicy, 1938. As I said in the video, what was it? I got my notes here. 86 years? 86 years old. That's that's like two of me. I mean, 86 years old. Um, yeah. I talked about it in that video a little bit, but I don't know if I really iterated what I was trying to say. When something is around that long, especially with the competition that is in whatever world we're in, we're using fragrance just because we're talking about in the fragrance world. There's a new fragrance seems like every week, and there's tens of thousands of fragrances, if not more. When something is around that long and still is relevant, that is incredible. That is just incredible. Not too many things can say that, right? Again, like or hate it, you've got to give it respect for that. That's just the way it goes. Um, so yeah, I just want to reiterate that is an impressive feat on its own, and I also understand why that it's cheap. I get that. A lot of father to son, father to son, father to son type deal has gone on with it after 86 years, of course. Um, that's generations, right? And 3 or 4 generations, easy. But even all saying all that, if it didn't smell good, it wouldn't matter. And it does smell good. It smells better than you think, and I'll get into that. Um, so the notes are, there's, like I said, too many to list, but there's spicy notes of cinnamon, nutmeg, star anise. There's floral notes of carnation, geranium, heliotrope, then vanilla, tonka, cedar, musk, and that's just some of them. The list goes on. Um, so let's get into how do I apply it. I put on my moisturizer. I put in a few drops on my moisturizer. Put it on. Then I put in a, cup your hand type deal amount, kind of, you know. And I put my shirt on, did some dabs, a few dabs on my shirt. Oh, good stuff. That's how I wore it. Performance, not too bad, especially for like sub $10. I mean, I got about 6 hours. Projections about an hour. Pretty beast for the first, honestly, for the first half hour or so. It's way more than arm's length out there. Then it takes the next half hour and comes in, and gives you a nice 3 hour bubble, strong bubble. You're picking up whiffs and wafts of it. Then it's a decent skin scent for about an hour. Then it's a light skin scent. It's still detectable though for about an hour. Then it's time to reapply. So depending on your skin type, I get about 6 hours. We'll say anywhere from 6 to 7 hours, depending on your skin type. Um, when I first put it on, I am hit with a cinnamon nutmeg combo with a good dose of a nice, sweet, slightly creamy vanilla. And in a little bit, right after that, the star anise kind of shows up, adding a bit of a spicy licorice vibe, ever so slightly. Don't worry, it's not a licorice scent. It's just kind of in the background, but it mixes with the spice and vanilla very nicely. And that's your spice. It's not pepper and stuff like that. It's your baking spices, your sweet spices, your cinnamon spice, cinnamon, nutmeg, star anise, basically allspice, or five spice, whatever you want to call it. Just gorgeous. Um, Coming into the mid, still keeping that spice vanilla combo, as you would expect, called Old Spice, um, is a nice floral geranium carnation duo, giving a clean, somewhat powdery, soapy smell to it, which again is nice. It's clean, it's fresh, but still somehow has depth and darkness with those spices and vanilla. And bringing up the rear in the dry down, you get a nice powdery tonka, helping to keep that vanilla noticeable because the vanilla starts drying down then, but the tonka kind of pushes it back up. And, some woods and musk, all the while still keeping a bit of that spice. That's the scent. It somewhat, I don't want to say linear, somewhat simple maybe. Yeah, we could say linear, but linear is not a bad thing, I said before, but it smells good. And by linear, I don't mean it just smells like one thing the whole time. It's those spices from start to finish that are in there. Other things come into play, like I said, the florals, the woods, the musk, all these things come into play. But always keeping, and I'm glad they did that, because it's a spice. It's called Old Spice. You want them old baking kitchen spices. So it's true to its name in that aspect. But at the end of the day, it's a sweet vanilla, spicy fragrance on a woody floral base. I mean, it's not the only thing that might date it for some people is the florals. The florals, I understand, especially the carnation geranium combo, really aren't used that a lot today, giving it a kind of, like I said, a powdery, rosy, soapy kind of vibe. That does give it a bit of that old school. Some people just say old manish vibe. But to me, that just kind of adds to the character, right? It's great that way. And this is not a barbershop. That's the closest it gets to a barbershop is when you pick up a bit of that soapy cleanliness in it. Powdery, soapy, cleanly florals. That's the closest it gets to a barbershop. It's not a barbershop fragrance. It's not, it smells nothing like most barbershops. New ones even, relatively new, Rib Gauche, with Tom Ford Bois de Jour, which actually might have a little bit more of a Tom Ford Bois de Jour with a bit of the spices than any of the others, but still not close. A Zero Pour Homme. Name a barbershop. It's not a barbershop fragrance. Never has been. As the classification says, it is a spicy vanilla oriental fragrance. Spicy, sweet oriental fragrance. And it is not bad by any stretch of the word. Very wearable today. I don't care. I will actually argue that point, damn it. Very wearable today. I wear it. I enjoy it. Got a couple compliments wearing it. People say it smells good. And that's the thing about Old Spice. If people don't know what it is, because you watch some blind, fragrance react videos. I mean, I don't know how cool they are, but I've seen a few and they're kind of, whatever. But if they go in blind, most people who don't know what it is and they don't have that bias, that innate bias when they see, for good or bad, they'll see a Dior and automatically it gets 5 more points on their rating because it's Dior. They'll see an Old Spice and it takes away 5 points because it's an Old Spice. But if they go in blind, most people say the same thing. Oh, it's light, it's sweet, it's spicy, it's nice, And that's the thing. The reason I think it gets a bad rap is because of its age, of course, absolutely. But I think also one of the reasons, and I could be wrong, but I'm guessing I'm not, is people over applied it back in the day. My grandfather was guilty of it. God rest your soul, Gramps. But you were guilty of it too. I mean, he would put on, I've watched him, Old Spice, just. Then he'd put his shirt on. And that was after shaving with Old Spice shave soap, putting on Old Spice deodorant. So yeah, they just didn't care back in the day, I guess. I don't know. Fuck it. You want to stink, gonna stink. You want to smell, you gonna smell good and strong. Right? So, but yeah, I think that was part of the problem is people just way too much. Because if you do put this on too much, it does become cloying. It does become annoying. I mean, yes, because it's, well, not a super strong scent. The spices in it give it a kick, and it's, too many of them are going to be rough on people, myself included. I mean, I've put on way too much of this myself at times and just too strong. Just the right amount. Like for me, it was a couple drops of my moisturizer. I kind of filled up the little ball in your hand, little cup in your hand, put it on, and a couple drops on my shirt. Lasted me most of the day. Smelled good, like I said. Couple compliments from it. Nothing like, oh my God, that's incredible. I did get one years ago from a buddy of mine who liked cologne too. He was just starting to get into it, and he knew I was into it. And he asked me one day, we were both working at Toys R Us of all places years and years and years ago. We're talking when I got this 20 years ago. And he actually was like, it's one of them compliments you remember because it was like kind of funny. He's like, what are you wearing today, man? I love that. That's Old Spice. No, it's not. I said, dude, it's Old Spice. Man, it smells like way different on you. I said, I put it on right, and my skin works with it, and that's just the way it is. But I got a couple compliments today with it, or yesterday with it. Oh, that smells nice, smells good. Nothing again, nothing. Ooh, what's that on my finger? A piece of skin. Ow. Nothing really. Oh yeah, great. But most people think it smells good, and it does smell good. Like I said, it's surprisingly light with some depth. It's clean with some depth. It's got spices. That's the main thing I want to get. That cinnamon spice, cinnamon, nutmeg, vanilla, and the anise, star anise. Those are the main players, and it's just so good. So good. I know women who keep a bottle of this and put some on every now and then to remind them of their fathers, their grandfathers, and stuff like that. They like dab a bit on their wrist when they're in the home and just, they've lost their fathers, whatever, grandfathers. And it's one of those scents, like I said, I can't talk about it without talking about nostalgia for not just me, but for a lot of people. It's one of those scents that most people like, and definitely most people, not all people, I know there's probably going to be one or two of you on here who say it, you don't have a nostalgic connection to it, but most people do. It's been around forever. It's been popular forever. Almost everybody's first bottle of aftershave was Old Spice, or they borrowed some of their old man's Old Spice, some of the Grampy's Old Spice. I mean, it's just that type of fragrance. And you make fun of it when you're in your teenage years. At least we did. Probably still the same now. Some teenage kids and people in their 20s watch, you old man, you blah, blah, old man. But when you get to be a certain age, and it's not a set in time, we'll say somewhere in your 30s, where you start to mature a bit. You start to realize that something like this is not just nostalgically great, but is a great fragrance. And you realize that it smells good and people like it, as long as you don't over apply. It's like I said, those spices will smack people in the face. You'll get compliments. So am I saying buy this? First off, I'm sure 99% of you have owned it or smelled it, so you know. But for the 1% that has never owned it or never smelled it, buy it. It's $10 just to have it in your collection, even if you don't like it. If it doesn't work on you, you need Old Spice in your collection. Come on. Just to sit on the shelf in a bathroom even, next to your shaving stuff. Just Old Spice. Old Spice. All right, guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave me some stories of Old Spice, how you first got introduced to it or anything like that. Just, how can you not have some form of nostalgia with Old Spice? You've got to have a story or something. All right, guys. Peace, love, be good to each other, and be good to yourselves.